Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing month, and we are so excited to be able to bring to you our next spotlight feature. She's definitely someone you want to sit down, you don't want to move because you want to hear everything that she's about to talk about, and also how she's changing the game for just our future of tomorrow. So, with that being said, for those who don't know me, my name is Tysheda. I am the founder of Luxury Travels by Dreamy Designer Events, where I curate elevated experience worldwide and help founders design retreats so they can connect more with their audience outside of the digital world and in person. So, on to you, Star.
Alrighty. And hi, I'm Star Dixon, founder of Mitsu's, a space designed for intentional collectors to discover original story driven pieces by emerging artists and studios. At its core, Mitsu's is about finding work that speaks to you while also making sure the narrative and the vision behind the work is understood. So, some careers are built by following a path, others are built by helping people find their way forward. Today, we're joined by Jillian Ferry, CEO and co founder of Durable Minds Everboarding, a company dedicated to helping students and early career professionals confidently navigate the transition from education into meaningful work. With over 16 years of experience across higher education, healthcare, and behavioral health, Jillian has built people first systems that don't just support organizations, but truly develop the individuals within them. Her work is centered on one thing, making sure people feel prepared, empowered, and equipped for what comes next. Jillian, we're so glad to have you, and now the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be here and share a little bit about my journey here and our business, Durable Minds Everboarding. So, thank you so much for that introduction. So, yes, I have a little bit about me. I've been in people operations and HR for the last 16 years. And I have been leading teams and building onboarding programs and helping early career professionals on the corporate side of things for 16 years. And so, my co-founder and I, Dr. Anh Lee, she is also been in learning and development for the last 20 years. And we consistently kept seeing a gap with early career professionals entering the workforce and just not being really prepared to understand the nuance and the things that you need to have to be really successful in your career. And so we came together and we're talking about a lot of things that we could do and things that we could kind of give back to this community. And we founded Durable Minds Everboarding. So we founded that early in 2024, March 2024. We sat down, we had a lunch, we talked about it. It like was the spark of the idea. And so as we were kind of thinking about it, we were thinking, okay, so what can we do to really help support these professionals? And so we came up with two really big gaps that we saw in that we could fill. So the practical tools, like understanding just how do you walk into an organization and understand those corporate dynamics? Like how do you talk the talk and walk the walk and understand who you're working with and working with multi-generational workforce and understanding the nuance that really happens when you enter into the workforce. And then the second piece was these durable skills, which most people will refer to as soft skills. But these durable skills of things that are really going to make you stand out in your career, that are going to last throughout your career, like communication and resilience and decision making and problem solving and self-awareness and those types of things. And so as we went through this process, we developed two products for that. One was Durable Me. So Durable Me is our self-leadership deck. And this is what helps you understand how do you actually practice self-awareness? How do you practice resilience? What are you doing to actually do some of these things? We think about math and science and English. We sit and we practice these things to get better at them, but we never do those things with things like communication and resilience and self-awareness. And so we created a tool that helps invite kids and students and or adults and into the conversation to say, okay, how am I showing up in self-awareness? How am I showing up in my resilience? What does that look like for me? How do I define that for myself? And we walk you through that process so that you are able to consistently build these tools that are going to help you stand out, not just at work, but also in your personal life. And then we built our course and our program, which is our Durable Success Workforce Readiness Program. That is our comprehensive course. It walks you through the entire employee life cycle. So everything from applying to a job to starting the job, your first 90 days, how to get the promotion, how to exit an organization when you know it's time to actually leave and walk away. And we all layer that in with my knowledge from HR. So understanding what's happening behind the scenes. How do you become a high performer? How do you actually get selected as a high performer? What's going on back there with your leaders that's going to help you stand out at work and be successful? Because overall, what we're all trying to do is get into the workforce. We want to be successful so that we can build the life that we want and we can have the things that we dream about. And so that really starts with a strong foundation at work. And so as we started going in and talking to these students, we keep hearing this consistent story. And it is that these students are leaving college, which is an environment where you are basically around kids your own age in a very structured environment. You know what success looks like. And then you leave that and you're entering into a job where you're working 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, with a multi-generational workforce. Most of the time, it's not even anyone your own age. And you're just thrown into this situation where you don't really know much about anything. And they are really struggling and flailing. So really that's why we exist. We exist to bridge that gap. And we do that from all sides of the coin. So we work with colleges and universities as well as early career professionals. And then we also just launched our corporate side of things. So we're actually helping corporations and organizations build out onboarding programs for themselves so that they can enter and welcome people so that they're driving retention, but then also helping early career professionals on that side as well. So we're really passionate about the work that we do, and we are dedicated to making sure that every single person that enters into the workforce walks in prepared and they feel really confident about that, regardless of anything. Like you don't have to have somebody that's been in corporate or is going to mentor you. We want to act as that mentor for people that are walking into that workforce. So that's a high level overview of everything how we got here.
No, I love that though, because it's also something I think people don't really think about too much because people are so busy with college. They're so busy with going through all that. But then when you get into the workforce, it's definitely a completely different vibe. It's not the same structure. It's not the same confined, like, everything is conditioned when you're in school. And then when you get out into the real world, they're like, oh, I'll just go to work and then things will just happen. And then it doesn't work that way. Like,
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I think that that's like what the interesting thing is. And we were talking about this the other day, Dr. Lee and I, but we spend 16 years and even all of high school. Think of all of our school. We're preparing our kids for college, and college is a thing, and we're driving them towards getting into a good college. But really, the purpose is that we want them to get into a good college so that they can have a good job, so that they can build a good life. But that is almost like the afterthought. But we're going to spend more time in our careers than we will in school. And so it's interesting to see that shift in that dynamic, that we don't spend enough time preparing our kids for that, really.
And a lot of the times too, within the school system, you're usually learning things outdated. And by the time that you're just like thrown in, it's literally fish out of water. And you're just like, whoa, this isn't what I learned. Like what is going on?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
to have someone actually act as the mentor to help you navigate this whole entire transition, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited. And honestly, especially this generation, I feel like Gen Z is getting like a bad rep. And I think that every generation has, like, I'm millennial, and I feel like everyone has had their thing. Like, oh gosh, millennials, oh gosh, the Gen Z, or Gen Alpha's coming. But I feel like almost with Gen Z, it's almost a perfect storm of everything. There is an insane job market right now. It is really difficult to get a job for early career professionals. And they are not prepared in the sense that I know when I was growing up, I had a job when I was 16 and 17 and 18. And a lot of these kids, their first job or first experience is either one internship and then they're in the workforce. And so that experience, that learned experience that I had when I was 16 and probably generations before me had, and they were 16 or 13 or whenever working, you're not getting that learned experience. And so we have to approach it differently. And I think that's where they get that rap of like being lazy and not wanting to work, because that's not the experience I have. These kids are great. They're so excited. They want to be successful, but that's the gap, really.
So, for my first question though, because you've been in the corporate world, you've been in there,
Mm.
and then transitioning into this, what is the difference that you've seen between what you used to have when you were in corporate versus now when you're pretty much building something so amazing, but you're building it basically on your own terms?
Yeah, I think that I've had to like kind of like redefine success in a way. And so in corporate, everything I've spent my whole career there, I've studied this. This is something that I'm like, I know inside and out. So entrepreneurship, it tests you in every way that you could ever even think about, in ways that you probably didn't even know you're going to test it. It is just like one of those things. There's no one What I found the most difficult, because I'm an executor by nature, is having to not only like drive the agenda, but then like all of the stakes, especially when you're early stage, feel so high stakes. Like every decision you make feels like it's like the end or the beginning of
Yes.
your business. And there's like so many, the highs are the highs and the lows are the lows. And we've gone through like really awesome deals that are fallen through and then like led us to something different. And so it's an interesting like up and down journey. And I think that resilience is something that Dr. Lee and I both have really had to have in the business, and just like really belief in the mission. So anyone that's like looking to go into entrepreneurship, because I know a lot of early career professionals do say that, I'm like, you have to have this level of like grit and resilience, because on the days when you don't want to get up and do it, you're the one that has to do it, because at least in the beginning, you are driving the business and the mission. It's you. And so I think that is kind of some of the transition. And so it is definitely using different sides of my brain, which has been interesting. And then recently I started consulting with Korn Ferry on the side as well. And so now I'm like on the corporate side too. So I think that it's good to have both pieces of those to keep my brain sharp as we're continuing to develop this, because keeping the pulse on what's happening on the corporate side of things is really important as well. So it's a very interesting dynamic though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
I
Ty and I
and
have even had conversations about like the transition of going from like high level thinking into like understanding just how to like manage everything else, like go lower, and also make sure that you basically, sorry, just got, anyway, just basically like make sure that you're able to like transfer all of your thoughts and know what to prioritize is always something.
But I did want to say something real quick. I did want to touch on the part that you said about the resilience part, especially with someone who is thinking about having a business or wanting to brand. Like, it's not just, oh, I want to have a business because I want to make money, or I want to start something so I can just have extra. No, like you have to have some level, and Star and I have talked about this multiple times. You have to have some level of passion behind what you want to do, because most days, no matter how many times you see people and you think it's picture perfect, every day is not like everything goes smoothly, because when things don't go, you need to have a reasoning behind why you're doing it to keep it moving.
Exactly. And I think this idea of, I know I had this early in my entrepreneurship journey, is like, we'll build it and they'll come. Like, we know that this is
Yeah.
we know that we need to do it. We have all of this experience. Like, we have 35 years of experience. Like, people are going to come and it's just like, we're going to build it. And then there's going to be all these customers lined up. And I think that is the interesting thing, that we have also come like becoming like marketers, which we aren't, and trying to understand like messaging and the power of this and the power of social media and the power of all these things. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't expect when they start their own business, is that even if you have something that people need and they want, there's a level of like grit and going out and selling and hustling, and there is no overnight success. Like, that doesn't exist. And if you see that, it is just the picture of what somebody did, but there's lots of like late nights and the hustle behind that you make it look easy. That's kind of the part of it. When you get to this point, you're like, oh yeah, it was easy, but it wasn't really. Like, the realness behind that was the tears and the lost
Yeah.
business and the
Yes.
no one wants this.
And definitely to our defense though, like it is one of those things that millennials, we grew up in the like the boom of the .com. So like there weren't that many people doing very similar things, or so now that it's competition, it's like, hold on, like how do I
What's
get my
happening? Yeah.
messaging right going the whole way? So my question for you is, between durable me and durable success, what ages can people start this at? And or
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. For durable success, I recommend, it can be probably senior in high school if you're going straight from high school into the workforce. So this is for anyone about to enter the workforce, or freshman in college. I highly recommend, if you took this course before you started your first internship, you would have a really great sense of what to expect. And so that is when we were doing our early testing and our beta testing with our students, a lot of them, we had a mix of people that had just entered the workforce and people that had internships. And the feedback we consistently got from the people that had just entered the workforce was, I wish I had this when I started my internship, because I been able to use the tools that you have. And so the way that the course is built is, you can go through it and you can take it, but then it's meant to be, you need to go back and look at it. So let's say you have a situation where you have a tough conversation at work, you can go back to that section in our course and actually have scripts and a step by step on how to deal with that. How do you organize yourself? What do you do when your boss says like, hey, can I have a quick sec? Or you get tough feedback. Like, we have all of these things that you're really are meant to be able to go back and look at. So for durable success, I would say senior in high school if you're entering the workforce, and definitely before your first internship would be ideal. And then again, if you're early in your career and you feel like you're kind of stumbling, that would also be a good age to take this as well. For durable me, we built this for people in high school, like juniors, seniors, all the way through to adults like me, myself. I use it myself, and it is really meant to help you practice these skills. And the cards are really beautiful because here, I'll pull them up here. I shouldn't have them right here. So this is the card deck, and we have these beautiful imagery on it. So I actually use it with my daughter. My daughter's 5, but I just talked to her a little bit about things. Like this one's the experience card, but we can talk about just like what is experience and why is it important and how does it show up versus having to do that. So we kind of built it for high schoolers, but I know that there are a lot of people. We even have customers that are as young as 9, where the parent just has to have a little bit more involvement in the conversation versus someone being able to do it on their own. So that's really, we know these skills take longer to develop. It's not like something you practice resilience and then you're resilient. And the thing with Durable Me is it's not like you're resilient and then you're always resilient for forever. You can have periods of resilience and periods where your resilience kind of wanes. Same thing with self-awareness. Like maybe there's periods in your life when you're really self-aware and then you kind of, fall a little away from that. That's what this deck was built to be visited again and again, and just kind of like have that reflection, pull yourself out of your own head and be very practical about how you're showing up in certain situations. And so that's kind of how that one was built.
Yeah.
Really.
I like
And
that.
especially since like you always do need refreshers at like different points anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, to piggyback off of what you were just talking about, because I know you've talked to a lot of people, even when you did your marketing research to like build this all out and
Yeah.
everything in that manner. So, what did you see like early career professionals struggling with the most right now? And where do you think organizations are missing the mark in supporting them?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, on the early career professional side, I think they just don't know what they don't know. And so the thing that I have witnessed the most is they are not prioritizing it enough in college because they think, "Oh, it's going to be fine when I get there. The company's going to take care of it. They're going to onboard me. They're going to tell me what I need to do," which is a huge misconception. And then when they get there, there is this big moment of like, "Oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do now?" I mentor a few early career professionals that just entered the workforce. And one of the people I mentor, he's had 3 bosses in the last 6 months. And so that was like really daunting for him. But that happens in corporate. There's a lot of things that'll happen. There's no way that you can prepare for that. And so he was like, no one prepared me for just like this level of chaos and just like uncertainty that I feel. Like I felt so certain in college and I knew what I was supposed to do. And I had this like really flexible schedule. And then I go here and it's very rigid and regimented and I kind of feel unsure all the time. So I think that that's really where early career professionals are having that feeling where they're not necessarily noticing it in college, but as soon as they hit the workforce, it is just like a big, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And some companies do it better than others. I mean, you can go in a company that's going to onboard you better, but I think on the corporate side, what they prioritizing hiring, and then they expect you to know things walking in the door. I would say I have worked at companies of all sizes, huge organizations, Fortune 500, mid-sized organizations, and consistently onboarding is almost seen as like an afterthought. And it's crazy to me because this is one of the most important pieces. Like there's a lot of money spent on recruitment, there's a lot of money spent on training, trying to fix the problems, but onboarding is just not put as a priority. And because of that, you are having people just walking in, they're lost. This is essentially dropping someone in a forest with no map and saying, "Good luck, figure it out." Like, you know what to do. And no, they don't. Like, you need to help people along the way. You wouldn't do that in any other context. You wouldn't start a game and just be like, "You'll figure out the rules along the way." Like, you would tell people like the structure that they're working in. And so I think it's kind of an interesting concept, but I see that that's really where the gap is, that we see the largest gap, because that onboarding piece is so broken. Employees of all levels, I would just say anybody walking into an organization, if you are not someone that's going to take initiative and know what to do, you are going to have a tough time in corporate America because onboarding is just so inconsistent.
Mhm. And even with that, like as you were speaking of like the early careers as well as the corporate dynamics, it brings me to this, which is what advice would you give someone who feels basically that they're capable and ambitious, but unsure of how to navigate the whole unwritten rules of work?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think that when you're walking into work, having tools and resources are really important. What I tell early career professionals are 3 things that you definitely need to do. The first thing is you need to show initiative. Like, don't just wait for work to come to you. That would be like the number one thing that I say. And then find advocates outside of your boss. Like, you need to tell people about your work. And that feels counterintuitive, but people need to know the work that you're doing. No one is going to be in rooms talking about it. Like your boss isn't thinking about when they're going to promote you. They're worried about their own promotion. You are in charge of your career and you have to own it. And you can do it in a way that's like authentic and you don't have to be like bragging about it, but you can look at this really cool thing I did, or I'm really excited about this. So you have to share your wins, build your advocates. And I would say really having a strong relationship with your manager, because your manager 100% drives where your career is going. So if you're having a hard time with a manager and you're like, they just don't like me, that may be a sign that you need to move to a different organization or try to repair that relationship, because that person determines whether you're seen as an asset or as a liability. And it's true. Like most people don't think about that, but that is the person that's going to be recommending you for promotions or kind of saying they're not ready. So that is kind of what the top pieces of advice that I would give early career professionals.
Yeah. And I love that, like that talk about like advocacy, whether it is with the manager or even yourself, because yes, you do have to, especially as you get into like bigger corporations too, like you have to be able to stand out and say like, no, this is me. You know
I
what I
did
mean?
that. Look at me. I did that. It's so great. Like, and there is a little bit of look at me, which people feel like that is not what they want to do, but it is, you have to. Those are the people that stand out, and hard work will go unnoticed. 100% it will go unnoticed. It will. They just, you have to be able to have people in rooms that you're not in talking about your work. And in order to do that, you have to remind them of the work that you do.
And what you said is actually important, because you got to think about when most people are in college, yes, you do your schoolwork, you have your professors, and like, you do work, and then they say, oh, this was a good job, or oh, so like you did that, but you don't really have to do anything besides
Yeah.
go to class, do your work, maybe if you're in sports and things that matter, but that's about it. When you
Yeah.
go into the workforce, they're like, oh, I did a good job. They're just going to know I did a good job because they see my work. And,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah, I know.
doesn't work that
It
way always.
doesn't. And I think in college you have a syllabus. Like, okay, I have this grade
Mhm.
and this grade and this grade, and that's what I'm being graded on. I would say when I'm thinking about corporate, just going back to that other question as well, performance reviews, not all performance reviews are created equal, and not all organizations have really
Yeah.
strong understanding of how they're even grading performance. So they don't even know how they're grading performance. So you also don't even know what you're being graded against. It's a lot of corporate jargon when you can get in there. So it's also this idea of being strategic and making your mark and having a lot of people from different departments like you and know your work. And because you're constantly building those relationships is important if you want to grow your career.
And also, I would say, even experience wise, like this has been one of those things where it comes in handy, especially like advocating and making sure that you're known, only because on the days where something can be off, like people would be like, oh, wait, something's not right. Like, I need to check up on this person, or like what's going on? Are you okay? So, and also sometimes, to be honest, like they'll forgive like different mistakes because they know your capabilities, like on the norm. So, yeah.
And I actually do like the way that you said that, Star, because you also got to think about a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, someone will remember when you make a mistake more than when you actually did an amazing job on something. So if you're not talking about the things that you're doing and the things to other people, they'll remember the mess up before they'll remember the 10 things that you were like the top on the chart for. Either way, that's the crazy part.
It is. It is. And I think that that's also comes back to reputation too. So like if you start to build a reputation of someone that is consistently late or not showing up to meetings or not doing things or not responsive, that's something that I also tell early career professionals. Like if somebody is reaching out to you for an update, you waited too long, like that is 90% of the time you should be following up with someone before they have to follow up with you, or else you are already, it's just like this thing in subconsciously in our brains where we think, oh, they're not working or they're not doing this or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so there are a lot of things that early career professionals have to overcome, especially with that layer of Gen Z, that layer of Gen Z's lazy. That is just a stereotype that people are already believing. So they're already coming in trying to fight that battle on the front anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so for my last question, with everything you've built and experienced, what are you most proud of in this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am really proud of myself for, finding this problem and just like having the resilience to continue to push through. Like I every day like eat, sleep and breathe this mission, and it is something that I have to do in order for me to keep going, because it is, again, it's not for the faint of heart. Entrepreneurship is not easy, and it is it is something that I'm really proud of that we were able to build this and just continue to keep pushing this message out, even when it has been, hard to kind of push through some of those harder days. And then the wins have been great. Also, they help drive that. But I think that that's something that I'm really proud of, that we were able to like see this vision. We have these products. They're also helping so many people. Like we've helped hundreds of students that are actually like using our products. And they reached out to me like, oh my gosh, this has helped me so much. Like I wish that I had this earlier, and I am using your cards. I use Durable Me. I use it to mentor them. Like all of these things are really powerful in terms of what it's actually the impact it's having on students, which is really what my why is, like making sure that they are
Yeah.
prepared.
It's really cool because like I do think that that is one of the pieces of entrepreneurship that definitely does keep people going, is realizing how many people you're impacting or how many people rely on you.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it is that motivator because you're like, it's not just me, it's not just a thought in my head at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, yeah. People are actually using this, and no one else is addressing this problem. And so, if not me, who? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And it's
Right.
also good because it's something that is a long-lasting effect. So it's something that has like effect between career, between your future, between what you're building. Like these are things that you're really molding. It's kind of like when you're mentoring someone, whatever, but it's touching so many people that can really do great things. They just need kind of the guidance that it was never there so that they can even have the help that it was very much needed.
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. I think that you hit the nail on the head. I love that.
Right. And I was gonna say, like, even to that point too, Ty, like that whole part of that's why it made sense to me also when you were saying that, like a parent teaching their 7-year-old about the work for it's because like they used it for themselves and they're like, you know what? Like we need to prep you too. So like, it's just something that you can
Yeah.
always pass down, just as Ty was saying. And this one is a little bit of just like an off question in a way, but I do know that now you're also working with onboarding with corporate companies.
We are.
What has been your experience in terms of like when you look at it by like business size, whether it's like a startup that you're assisting with or like a bigger, larger business?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. So Anne and I, Dr. Lee and I have created a framework that we have tested across all sorts of company sizes as well as industries, and big, large, and small. And so this framework is essentially these are the ingredients that you need to have successful onboarding to integrate your people. And so we basically scale it down or scale it up depending on the size of the organization. So if you're going to be someone that's onboarding like one or two people every so often versus you have hundreds of people in your organization, we help you develop those things. And so the way that we do it, it's almost like teacher in a box, essentially. Think of it that way. We're going to hand you everything that you need to know, the scripts, the things that you need to actually onboard them. What should you say? What are the activities you should do? How do you use Durable Me? And then also like the infrastructure behind it. Like how are you making sure that people have their laptop and their computer and their manager is bought in? That's the number one thing that we have. We have to have manager buy-in because HR is just one piece of it. And then the handoff to the manager is so important and so crucial. And so we do manager training as well on that front of it. And so that's why we have everboarding in our name. So instead of just onboarding, we call it everboarding. Like you should be consistently developing your people. And so that is really what we do. And so this framework is consistently shown to be proven to work across all sorts of organizations. It's just a matter of like, how big is this activity versus how small is activity? How more intimate is it versus is it a little bit more less structured because you have more people there? And so that's what's really cool about what we've been able to build, is that this is something that we've been studying for forever. I remember early in my career when I started studying onboarding programs, I went to Texas A&M, and anyone that knows anything about Texas A&M, like people are like so bought into the culture at Texas A&M. And so when I went to transfer camp, which I was transferring in, it's basically the same thing as fish camp. It was like I came out of there and I was like, everything about A&M is the coolest thing that ever existed, and I love it. And so when I entered corporate and I was studying this, I thought, how can we take that feeling that colleges do during fish camp or during orientation, some of them doing really well, and put it into onboarding? And so we have kind of taken all of that knowledge and all of Anne's learning and development experience and put it into this framework that really is usable across all sorts of size of organizations, and we've tested it across that.
Oh, cool. And also just in general, like onboarding is usually like such a crucial part of like a business, especially for a new employee too, like coming in and just seeing how disorganized or organized, which is the preference, like a business is basically. So thank you
It's
for that.
true. It's
Yeah.
true.
And one of the questions that I do want to move off of the corporate end of things, what would you say is a fun or interesting fact about yourself, actually?
That's a great question. So I am like super passionate about music and singing. I've been singing probably my whole life. I did a lot in high school, in probably since I was like 5 years old. I've been singing in like church and everything. So I would say that's kind of like my fun thing that I do. It's something that I do to like calm myself down. And I wish I'd had more time for it now, but it is something that I can just like when I'm trying to go to like my happy place, when I just want to get away from like all the craziness of life and parenting and work and all of that. That's kind of what I do. I love to
Oh,
sing and I
that's
love
awesome. Love
music
that.
in general. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I feel like music's always a really good thing to like hit your soul when you're just like
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
I don't care what kind of day you have. You put on some music, it's
yeah,
like it
exactly.
make you feel like every day's gonna be okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm good now. So yeah.
So before we wrap, we always love to give our guests the moment to connect directly with our community. So, what is one way that our audience can connect with you, support you, or take the next steps after this conversation?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, anybody that really wants to come and support our work or even just hear about our work, if you have or you know somebody that's entering the workforce, my recommendations for his first step is just go to our website. We have a free workforce readiness assessment. I would recommend somebody taking that. So, just go on our website, take that readiness assessment. It actually tells you kind of like where am I in this pipeline? How much work do I actually need? What do I actually know about entering the workforce? That would be like the first thing. And then the second thing on the corporate side, if you're in a business and you're like, hey, I really want this to come to my organization, like you can go to our website and reach out to us and set up a call. And we would be happy to talk to you about how you can actually bring this program to your company so that you can actually start integrating it on that side. So I would say those are the two best ways. And then also you can follow us on social media, just follow along on our journey. We also do some really fun tips along the way as well on our Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
I love that.
And as we see, Jillian's journey basically highlights the power of being prepared, not just for a role, but for responsibility and growth that comes with it. So, through her work, she's creating pathways for people to move from uncertainty into confidence and from education into meaningful careers. So, if this conversation resonated with you, be sure to, as I always say, like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more conversations like this. And also, we'll keep Jillian's information in the description box below. So, as always, and until next time, keep building, keep growing, and stay inspired. Bye.
Are you ready to stand out in your career? Landing your first job or internship is just the beginning. Knowing how to stand out is what truly matters. In 2024, 75% of companies were unsatisfied with their new grad hires, not because of talent, but because of workplace readiness. School teaches you the theory, but the real world expects you to know the game from day one. That's why we created our free masterclass. This isn't just about getting hired, it's about thriving. From avoiding the number one mistake new hires make to impressing leadership and turning an internship into a full-time offer, this masterclass equips you with the skills, strategies, and confidence to own your path. Packed with insider insights, career building tips, and essential workplace strategies, we help you cut through the noise and rise above the competition. DME is the bridge, so you don't just survive your career, you excel in it. When you change the way you see the world, you change the way you live in it. The unwritten rules of work finally written down.